A new No Man's Sky update is on the horizon, like we knew it was, and it's going to be a chilly one. Sensible breakdowns based on history, a bit of conjecture, and more here in the LZ. My fellow travelers, you have cried about speculation in somebody else's YouTube comment section and then found yourself here for some reason for more speculation. Welcome once again to the LZ. I know it's been a minute, but I generally don't upload a lot of No Man's Sky stuff when there's not a lot of No Man's Sky news. But of course, this video is the facilitation of breaking news because Sean Murray, our friend, has of course done the thing. He dropped an emoji just last night, a snowflake. Also, shout out to Captain Steve for a warning and saying you shouldn't put that emoji in your YouTube channel because YouTube will think that it is something else and demonetize the video. And that's good warning there for sure. And of course, the speculation and guesses have run rampant about what this could possibly mean. And so in today's video, I want to talk about my thoughts. I want to talk about precedent based on emoji tweets, which will probably be useful information to you if you are uninitiated or if you have joined No Man's Sky late in the game here. Just a quick recap of what happens with these emojis, right? When a new update is around the corner, and we're talking probably days here, Sean Murray will just tweet a random emoji. Well, it's not random. Actually, it's very not random. It's very specific, which I'll explain. But that typically will be a direct hint of what the new content will be. So here's what we do know so far. The upcoming update will be probably primarily focused on PSVR2. It was actually previously launched or announced by Sean Murray that PSVR2, the No Man's Sky version for PSVR2, will launch day and date, which is this upcoming Wednesday, the 22nd. No Man's Sky already has VR functionality. I do think there's some extra features that are coming with this new PSVR2 that they were probably going to be implementing as well. I am not a VR player. I am not a VR aficionado. I don't know what these new features are. Probably other channels are better to explain those things, but I do know it does have functionality, full functionality, by the way. This is not just one of those little small demo apps. The entirety of the No Man's Sky experience can be played in VR. That I do know. But VR makes my head hurt, and it's just it's not my bag. So congrats to those who do enjoy that kind of stuff. But this emoji is going to probably signify the naming convention or the content that will launch with this update. And so a couple of things to consider, some possibilities rooted in reality and precedent. Let's talk from least to most, okay? At the very least, this will be a named update that will simply only launch with PSVR2 capability and little to nothing else, right? There is precedent for that. The last platform that No Man's Sky launched on was the Nintendo Switch, and it was pretty much just the update that is the No Man's Sky version of Switch. There wasn't much else to talk about for that. There was a little bit extra on that one, but really Sean was a pretty good chap to say, hey, cool your jets. This is really just the primary focus of this particular update. More is coming later down the road. So at the very least, cool your jets on the hype. He hasn't said directly that that's all this is coming with this update like he did with the Switch. I imagine we're going to see some interviews and stuff coming here throughout the week. You will probably see a trailer, I would imagine Monday or Tuesday, I think, based on precedent. The update will launch on Wednesday, and then, of course, that will give them time to do some bug fixes because every single update has come with some level of bugs that they need to address before the weekend gets there. They've gotten pretty efficient at doing this. Now, if we move from least to moderately and probably most likely, I would say, is that this is going to launch with PSVR2 capability with a new expedition. For those of you uninitiated, an expedition is sort of a temporary sort of raid-like thing that exists in the game where players can get together, It's a brand new save. You start on the same planet together. You do kind of all these same little challenges, and it gets you unlockables that you can keep in pretty much across all of your saves at that point. And maybe some quality of life changes, some new features and things like that. It may not be a completely nuclear drop. I know there's a macOS version coming for No Man's Sky as well, which will pretty much make No Man's Sky available on virtually every platform known to man, with exception of Google Stadia. And I can't stop making that joke because that joke gives me life. Anyway, here's to hoping for a Nintendo 64 demake of No Man's Sky eventually. Just don't buy your Nintendo 64 from DK Oldies for the love of God. Now, if we want to move on from the moderate and possibly most likely scenario to something a little more beefy and kind of realistic. Remember, we are in February. We're in the middle of February. The last big update I think that we got was, the Switch version. There was a smaller update. It's escaping me right now. Okay, I just went back and looked, and the Waypoint update, which was primarily the Switch version, launched on Nintendo Switch. It didn't have a super deep feature set, but that was the last update. The biggest update was October. So we are on like 5 months now. Now, to be fair, they did do the Expeditions Redux, which gave you a chance to sort of relive the Expeditions past, and that gave them a good chance to really kind of take the holidays. They're still working on content. So really, I think a new expedition launched with that one too. I could be wrong. I think it was just a replay of the previous expeditions now that I look back. But that was a good time for folks to catch up on expeditions who don't usually play them or didn't have a time, or, there's some rewards to get from those particular things. So we're really getting up into like 4 or 5 months of time that new content has likely been in development for No Man's Sky. That's not usual because generally you're looking at about a month and a half to 2 months in between updates. The usual sizable name updates for No Man's Sky. We're getting into nearly 5 months now. So there is a possibility that they've been crunching out quite a bit of new content that is going to make for a pretty sizable update. I could be wrong. They could have spent a whole lot of that time working with PSVR2, and whatever it is that they're doing for that version of the game is, it took the primary bandwidth of all the work. I think they said as much for the Nintendo Switch too, which is like, hey, we put a whole lot of time and focus and effort into the No Man's Sky Switch version, and to be fair, I mean, that is probably quite an undertaking to get the Switch version to actually function. I own the Switch version. I think it's great. It's definitely a powerhouse packed into a 6-year-old console. If I was Sean, I would have not done that. But it was, I guess, get people like me screaming that it wasn't possible, where he was just like, yeah, challenge accepted. And I think it was like 100 million Switch units out there or something. Like, there's a lot of Switches. And you'd kind of be dumb not to focus on that audience with that many pieces of equipment out there. I'm just saying. So it is not out of the realm that this update, whatever it is named, could be a pretty sizable content update. We're looking at 4 to 5 months of no new content yet for this game. That definitely is a possibility. Now, to talk about the emoji itself, I don't have much speculation other than to talk about precedent. I mean, I could throw some speculation out there, but really it's just rooted in conjecture. And it's not very useful to try to make guesses about an emoji because they are seldom very directly saying one way or another what is actually in the update. I think about the Origins update, which was one of the better updates, and it was just in orange, and it just completely murdered the discourse around the game in the community because they're like, an orange, bro, what? And it turns out that it was literally called Origins. Like, it can be that on the nose. No, so, I mean, you really have two possibilities here based on precedent. It is directly like, hey, That is a snowflake because we are working on snow biomes and increasing snow biomes. It could mean that. Or it could literally mean, there's a lot of speculation, like Captain Steve is saying, fractal design and fractal math. I think that's probably a little late in the game for it to be something so complex. I would welcome that, right? I've always been the proponent of, yes, let's do a reset. I don't care about your bases, as long as they add in base designs where you can just simply move your base to another planet if you wanted to. That would be really cool. I think that would be a good olive branch. And then give me some technology and changes and new features and additions that would facilitate and make necessary a galactic reset. I think we're too late in the game for anything that serious. And frankly, there's a part of me that says I don't want that. I have been screaming for years now that it is time to stop adding foundational things to No Man's Sky and start building upon those foundations. There's so many things in this game that just is there, that was added over the years, that have yet to be fleshed out or addressed. The station override in the new space stations being one of the bigger ones, right? That is, here's just this new thing that we added in a random update. I think it was Frontiers, where they just, here's this new mysterious thing. Oh, and here's an item that you can use on it, but that item does nothing. I'm losing my mind. So I, like everybody else, have my wishes about what I would love to see in No Man's Sky. I do want to talk about that in depth once the viewership increases, once the hype increases again. I tend not to want to talk too much about No Man's Sky because at some point, especially in the months of where there's just no content, there's no viewership, and I don't like talking to empty space, right? I like talking where there's people that can actually jump in and engage in the conversation. Not that I'm saying I love doing this for views, but I also don't love doing this when it's not getting views either, right? So there's the two possibilities. It could either be so on the nose like Origins, or it could be something really directly sort of hinting at a feature set, right? We don't know. I know what we know already is that it's going to be PSVR2. It's probably going to be macOS. And then anything outside of that is pure conjecture, right? I mean, there is the things that they could continue to flesh out that we know will likely be fleshed out at some point, but we literally can't say what. So, of course, look for more additional coverage on this update as it comes here in the next day or so. Be prepared for a trailer to launch any minute. Watch the Steam database because that will likely see action and uploads here any minute now, really, because Sean Murray stays burning the candle at both ends. Drop a comment below what you think is going to be in this new content update. I always love hearing from you. And keep coming back to the LZ for more. Bye.